everyone. Welcome back into the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball. Our good buddies over at Game 7 Baseball, they're still finishing out their season. Got some high school, get into fall ball. Always good to once you get that tryout out of the way, you got your team together, get into some fall ball. I know people are playing football, they're getting ready for football, and that's great. I think that's fine, but if you got some guys that you can put together, see what you got, it's always good to that next level, kind of get an idea of where you're going, right? So make sure you get into some fall ball tournaments, and we'll go from there. REP, Red Earth Productions. Remember, if you're a sporting group, we do a lot of that stuff. We can produce videos for you. If you got some promos, some training stuff, we'd be happy to help you. Give us a call over here, 636. I think it's 400-3199, right, Justin? That's correct. I was right. Sometimes you look at your own number. You never look at your own number, right?
My significant others had the same phone number for I can't tell you how many years, and I still go in there and type in her name to make sure I know it right.
There you go, right?
And I've sent a lot of texts and a lot of phone calls.
Yes, I was in the Walgreens the other day, and they said, "Do you have your rewards?" I said, "Oh, my wife does." And they're like, "Well, you want to enter her phone number?"
Yep.
It just says Steph.
Mine says Kimmy. So that's what I have in mind, and I put it in. I'm like, "Yep, there's the number." They're like, "Sir, that's the wrong number." I was like, "Oh, I'm just kidding."
Well, that's bad.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh, man. But anyway, Red Earth Productions, we're here for you. 636-400-3199. You can catch me on my email, brian@redearthprod.com. Love to help you out. So we're back. More conversation. We're hoping people are enjoying this. Whether you're enjoying or mad at us, hey, you know what? We hope the conversation's intriguing. Because we're just trying to talk through situations that help. We've gone through the tryouts. Let's look at, we're back to competition, right? People competing, what levels? We've been talking about AA, AAA major. What makes that competitive edge? Where do we put these teams? And we've talked about players being defined, right? But do we understand how to define a team in that AA, AAA major level? Do you have some kids that maybe you picked up that you thought were talented, maybe at that AA, but you're a AAA squad? Or do you play AA until you get to that AAA? And we're talking age groups. I really do believe this, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think 12, 13, 14, if you're not defined already, I don't know if you really know where you're going with your team. Agreed?
I do. I think the toughest part there, though, to try to define that is a conversation we had a few weeks ago. Yeah. We've had some conversations. When we were talking about just the levels and the kind of the growth and what you're doing with your group, and if you're having tryouts every year trying to replace 6, 7, 8 guys, you probably cannot identify what you are as a group. However, like we have our 14U team with Coach Nicodime, he has gone out and I think he's won 3 or 4 AA tournaments this year. And the first thing he says to me, we have to challenge ourselves a little bit differently. Now, he might go out and wear one if he goes out and plays in a AAA team, but if he goes out and competes, he is satisfied. And so that kind of will tell him that he's a good AA team, clearly, because he's winning AA tournaments, and they're Game 7s to everything in our area, and even traveling. He's won out of the state or out of the area tournament too. So
very good.
He has gone and competed everywhere at this level pretty well, but he has to challenge his group, and so he is identifying what they need, and he is challenging them. And I'm excited for that because he's not just settling for let's go get a bunch of W's and have the feel good moment.
And okay, that's a great point right there, Mitch, because I think this as a coach then needs to have the conversation. I think there's a parents meeting in that because it's easy for parents to kind of go, hey, we like winning. We get the trophy. We do. Yeah, we feel good for our children because they're having success. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's a parent out there that doesn't want success for their children.
Of course.
And feel good about that. That's just, and I understand that. So I think that's a conversation as a coach. You know, we really had a lot of success. Double A, we won in a lot of different places. So now we have to take that next step. And I want you parents to understand, we may get beat up. There's a possibility if we go to this tournament, our kids may have, I need your support. I need you to help with those kids mentally. I think it's a huge impact. This is why I hate, I shouldn't say it like that. I don't like the thought process when people say, and it's in the Matheny Manifesto, and it's parents are the problem. No, they're not. They should be the help. Are there parents that are problems? Yes, we understand that. That can happen at any place, in any situation. But if you have your group of parents and they're helping you with that mental aspect, keeping the kids moving, motivated, working, that's what you need to succeed, yes?
You're going to have that because at the end of the day, it's the car ride home, right? We've already talked about this numerous times between the two of us, how many times we've had car rides home that we've been hammer time on our kids.
I have done it, and so, you can say what you want to. If you're being realistic,
yep,
we've all done it.
Oh yeah, and sometimes I still get frustrated with things. Again, though, getting back to this double A level, you have a bunch of success. So when your son hits in a tournament, he's hit 600. Everybody's excited about that 600 number. But then let's say we go get challenged a little bit and he hits 100. Okay, so that ego gets checked a little bit. But, you know, what are we doing on the car ride home? Are we saying that he's a bad player now because he got challenged? But at the end of the day, for me, it's what are you doing to prepare these kids for, again, the next step, which is high school. They have to compete. They need to compete at the highest level if they want to play baseball at their highest level, which the next step is high school.
Correct.
So if you want to be prepared for high school, you might as well challenge yourself to a level. And if you go out there and you lose to a team 15-0, so be it. Maybe that team should have beat you 20-0,
right?
And you only lost by 15-0. But what if you go out there and play that team in bracket play and only lose 5-2, 4-2? What if you go out there and go, 500 in the tournament? To me, that's a success.
I agree.
And anything that we do, if we're going out there and we are not necessarily a team of that level, but we can go out there and be 500 in a tournament, I can walk away from that experience being excited. But my boys have something different to look forward to and to train to. So guess what that does for me as a coach?
Yes.
It only motivates me to make them better. So I'm going to put everything in place to make that team now be a 750 win percentage or a 667 winning percentage or something of that nature to grow one more game every single week. But now I know, guess what I'm doing? I'm not going to play down double A again unless I go get my butt kicked and I realize I'm not good enough.
And let's look at this. You're talking about that. You're talking about going to that next level. Do I have to add a couple players because I may need another arm? I'm going to say this. It was a conversation I was having, and there was a team that was undefeated. Now, this is in the lower levels, okay? This is 8, 9, 10, something like that. The coach had been undefeated in recreational baseball. I shouldn't say recreation. It was league baseball. I don't know what level it was, but it was league baseball. Okay. They're playing once a week. The question was asked, how many pitchers do you have? 2, and you're coming to play in a tournament. Anybody that really understands tournament baseball right there, it's just like, no, you're not going to have success. You're just not going to have success, period. You play at least 3 games. You only have 2 pitchers. There's an issue right there. They won 1 game. It was that one kid, and this one player, this one pitcher pitched every time. They were undefeated. Well, he was good. He won the game in the tournament. It's probably a double A. That's great and all, but it's an understanding of when you start looking at this, I may have 10 dudes, but you go to that next level, triple A. Do I need to add a couple of kids because I may need a pinch hitter here? I may need somebody who runs. What if somebody gets hurt? Because the intensity level goes up, and there are very few teams that can compete at a high level with 10 dudes.
We talked about it maybe 2 weeks ago with a team down in southern Missouri or southern Illinois or whatever it was that they can get it done like that, but I guess they have 10 pitchers. So
it was and one is it was in Springfield, Missouri. It's that 12U Midwest Mavericks, and they still did it again. St. Louis Dynamite, Dave Hartman's team. They've been like that. They have some really good quality kids, up and down, but injuries. What happens?
It's not often that this is a recipe for success.
Right.
I'll be completely honest in saying maybe 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, 12 years old, maybe having a roster of 11, 12 kids, I think is very comfortable. I know that it gets sometimes frustrating because you're batting rosters, free substitution kind of routines. You're trying to get the reps in. So
sure.
Kid may only hit 5 times in a weekend and it kind of stinks or whatever. But when you start getting older, you're starting to get specialized in some things too, where a kid maybe doesn't pitch anymore because it doesn't work on it enough. But he could get away with some things because he threw hard when he was younger. Now 60 feet 6 inches changes a lot of things, and so maybe you have a couple kids that are POs. Maybe even at the 14U level, if you're trying to play at that caliber, which the highest level, you might have that because you're not going to put a kid out there that make your pitcher make an extra 20 pitches because you boot a couple baseballs in right field or left field or shortstop. You're not doing that anymore. You are playing for something more than kind of everybody else, I think. And that's just my opinion. If you're playing at the highest level, you are representing something that's pretty neat.
Right.
Agreed. And I look at those teams. Look at the teams that are pretty successful. They have dudes. They have a lot of them. They have 13, 14 kids that can play the game. And yes, you might play 9, bat 9, but at the end of the day, how many games are you going to be playing? Because if you're trying to play a full weekend, you might hit with 5, 6 games, right? Because you're guaranteed 3, but if you got to play the next round and you got to play that next round, you're looking at 5 games a weekend. You have to have dudes.
And here's the thing: we were just out a couple weeks ago at the Game 7 World Series. I was watching the 14U AAA major level. We saw some good baseball there. And there's some really good teams there. The Illinois Gators, I believe the coach's name is Chirodo, I think it is, or something like that. I hope I didn't butcher that. Sorry, Coach, if I did. I talked to those guys. They won the tournament. Really good. Coach Vanetta, his group with the Naturals. Coach, there was a lot of close games in this. The Prospects Black. I'm sure I'm leaving Donnie Horn's group, the Midwest Futures. They had a good tournament. There was a lot of good teams out there. And you know what I noticed, and this comes to this, is I saw a lot of 2, 3, 4 extra kids in the dugout. 14U AAA man. Because I think it's coming to that place where they're understanding we can't do this anymore. You're playing 3 games on that Saturday. That's hard. You got to give a guy a rest. Maybe here, this guy just threw. Putting him back out there in that next game, it's tough sometimes.
Especially if you're, and let's say he goes out and throws 80 pitches, pitches a heck of a ball game, sits, for 30 minutes waiting for the next game and has to go out and play center field. He's going to need one chance at some point to maybe show off that arm, and if his arm gets tired or is tight, what are we doing and putting those kids at risk? And I know that these things happen in Little League Baseball. We throw a ton, whatever, but at the end of the day, I look at things like that. I don't want my guy going out and pitching, 80 pitches and then putting him in a premium spot like that where he's going to have to make a particular throw that we may not want him to do after that. So maybe, yes, he can DH. Maybe
right.
Maybe that pitcher can go to if a pitcher he can hit, or maybe he should sit. And we understand that nobody likes that, right? But at the end of the day, that's the best thing that maybe happened for that young man. Maybe he needs to run or whatever. Let him sit. Let him have his time and let him have his rest.
And I think parents have to understand that a lot of these people that are running these programs, like the Naturals, I've talked to a lot of guys down there, like the Gators, like the Prospects. The people that are running these organizations are guys that have been at the pro level, collegiate level. They understand this context and this thought process. And the reason why they're adding 2 and 3 and 4 guys in these rosters is because they have that understanding. Is it worth it to have this kid? He's just that athlete. He just threw, as you said, 85 pitches, 85 pitches, and we stick him out in the outfield, and boom, something pops. Not because he wanted to, but he wants to make the play too. You have to understand, these kids are competitive at that level. Mm-hmm. And they want to. I'm not going to let that guy score. I want to throw him. I'm going to throw him out.
Definitely there. Definitely there. You're going to hear your coach all the time. Was he going to say, "Hey, make sure you hit your cutoff, man"? But when it comes down to it, he's going to want you to hose him if it's a chance to win the tournament. So, we have to, as coaches, we have to protect our athletes.
I agree.
And I think with something that we had a conversation about with large numbers. Your practices are so much more effective and efficient. And you cannot run practices with 9, 10 guys, 11 guys at practice unless you're, deep in the organization, allow somebody to come out there and get your scrimmages, your bunt coverages and things like that. How do you get a chance to run with 9 guys out there?
It's tough. And that's the thing. I understand I do understand at the lower age levels. I do understand at 9, 10, 11. And even 12, 10, maybe 11 guys. I get that because we do want the playing time for the kids. We do want the at-bats. I understand these things. I get them.
Yep.
And been there, done that, all of those things. But I think when you get it, if you have that 12 elite, real, truly, and there's very few elite teams. Let's just put it that way, okay?
I think elite, 1%.
I agree.
That's what I feel.
I don't disagree. There are very few teams at even the 12U level that can go on a national stage. And to be sure, when you're traveling like this, when we talk about national, where are you going? Are you going to Arizona? Right? You going to Florida? Very few teams travel like that in that respect. Mm-hmm. If you're playing in a regional area and you're a AAA major team and you're winning tournaments, you're really good.
Really good.
Right?
Really, really good. Really. Elite is a completely different word to me.
I agree.
I look at the kids that are elite. Those are the kids that are going to get draft eligible. If you want to pick on a young kid that's doing his thing right now in Christian Little, that kid's elite. And There's very few kids, and there's still guys that throw 90 in high school, getting ready to graduate that are moving on. But that young man has elite ability. That is elite. In my eyes. Somebody that's going to go out and is hitting 15 homers in a high school season and lights the cover of the baseball, that's a different dude. That's a guy that's getting a chance to play on the 14 or 15U U.S. elite team. That's
right.
And when I'm talking about Team USA, that to me is a guy, because you got guys from all 50 states coming to play, and you're one of 18.
And
that's 1%.
There you go. And that's when we start. That's when, in my opinion, AA, AAA major goes out the window.
Yep.
It's gone. These are measurements, in my estimation, that help tournament directors put these things into perspective, helping to try and create a competitive level across the field of teams. And I think this is why it's important that coaches understand these competitive levels. What does your team need to compete? What do your kids need to where you're protecting them a little bit in their future, that they want to play that high school, and maybe they're growing into that next level collegiate athlete?
Yep.
How are we helping them? How are we having these conversations with the parents? If we are that, as you said, you're in that 12, you're going to that 13U, we're going to challenge ourselves. We're going to go that AAA. Parents, we need your help.
You have to buy in. And the buy-in process now comes from everybody because of the money that's spent here too.
Sure.
You have to buy in. And
Sure.
If little Jimmy is paying the same as little Johnny, but the playing time necessarily ain't the same, it gets frustrating.
Yes.
But there's a difference. And it doesn't always matter what the parent thinks. It's what the coach thinks.
Yeah.
Let's say little Johnny is actually a really good ball player, but he's not doing some things right in practice, or he's not a good teammate, or he's doing things in the dugout that the coach wishes not to share with people.
Right.
You have no idea. You're powerless over who puts you in the lineup, right? And so sometimes you just have to put yourself in that position to make yourself noticeable, compete. all the things that we've already talked about a gazillion times. That to me is what's going to identify you.
And here's something I will say that, and I know this, and I know you have this 13-year-old kid, right, who has no idea sometimes really how to talk to an adult. Mm-hmm. And the coaches want to say, hey, we want the player to come talk to us. Great. I have no problem with these things because it has to be a learning process. Can we put this situation where the player comes, I would go and make sure I talk to the parents first and foremost. What do you see? What's happening? Can I get a feel of what we're doing? Is there something else? Because it should be a collaborative effort to help this young person, this young man, grow as an adult. And then go and have that conversation. I don't want to hide things from parents. I think that's wrong. I think it's because that's their child. I'm going to be upfront with the parent and say, this is what we discussed. This is what we're going to discuss. I'm not quite sure but these are the things that are happening. And it should be aware if there's something happening in the dugout, I'm going to go to the parent and say, hey, look, I need your help. These are things that are happening. This is what, if you're understanding what playing, because these kids are not mature enough sometimes in themselves to understand how these things get better and different. How are we helping the parents understand how to help the child get better in those respects? I think this is at the root of some of these things. That's just my opinion.
I agree. You have to know your audience too, right? You have to know your athletes, and so you know whether or not an athlete can handle a certain coach. I know that for me, when I'm trying to present information to a kid, whether it's a tough conversation or not, I have to know my audience. And so if I have one kid that I know can handle it, I have that conversation. But if I don't, I need a softer side. I ask my assistant coach because we're two different people. And so I asked that assistant coach to maybe handle this. I give the information. I know the information necessarily isn't going to be relayed verbatim, but pretty close. We try to keep it internal, just like anything else that we do. As we get older, we try to keep everything internal until the real changes. It needs
not to be. Right.
Because I don't really... from my side as a coach, I don't actually like to go to the parent all the time because I feel like, what if I say the wrong thing to the parent and the parent gets upset at the athlete? And then that conversation happens. And so they're in the car ride home saying, you can't do this and you can't do that if you want this and if you want that. So
those are risks. I don't.
Those are, but there's always going to be a risk reward with everything we choose to do. Because if we choose to ignore things, it could be an issue. If we choose to handle it, it could be an issue. If we choose to go to the parent, it could be an issue. So at the end of the day, you have to just try to find what fits works best for the group. And I do have those conversations. I try to, if anything is I need to have, like you said earlier, in having the conversation with bringing the parents in involvement, saying, here's how we're going to challenge our kids moving forward. This is my expectations. This is what we are doing. This means we change the rosters to play 9, bat 9. I need everybody here to buy in. If you have a problem with it, now's the time to say something. If you don't, forever hold your peace. I'm moving on. I'm not going to entertain you.
Right.
And it just air it out. But I also have an open door. I've been chewed out by parents. I've let parents just let it fly. And but that's my job. At the end of the day, who's taking the blame for the Cardinals issue? It's Mike Schilt.
Right.
And so the recent baseball history says they're playing much better than they were a couple weeks ago. I know that they lost a couple in Colorado, but whatever.
Yeah. Hey, they beat two.
They did 2 close games.
We got to cut that out.
I know. I'm sorry. I just love baseball and everything that it represents, and it does start with our young men and women that are growing. Because the 9-10 has to be. You know what? You said something earlier about the 9-10 year kid after strikeout wants to cry. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? Go ahead and cry a little bit.
So do I. I want to cry. Dang it!
I know somebody else is crying as soon as they get behind the fence.
How many fans are crying when Paul Goldschmidt strikes out with the bases loaded?
Yeah, right. A lot, especially the ones with their left arms on the recliner and the right one on their cell phones, on social media. But at the end of the day, I want my 9-year-old kids, I want them going out after having a game and let's go get a slushie. I'm done. Let's go get some snacks. Let's go back to what it was when I
remember when we got the free snow cone after the Little League game.
I love that stuff because that's and at 9, 10, 11 we need to play as much as we can. They need to play versus practicing. They don't retain. Have a blast and I think that's a part of why maybe we don't have as much youth in sports right now. It's either what's being on TV or the cost of games, but we are not having enough fun at the younger age levels.
And I'll tell you, a couple weeks ago, we saw some of the negative aspects of that, and it's tragic. And it was at the World Series, and there was age group, and there was coaches not. It's more about the coach than the player. It's got to be about the player. Coaches, dad coaches, paid coaches, whatever the case may be, at this age level, it's got to be about the development of the player, the parents, and their input. Everybody working together. We're supposed to be the adults. Let's make sure the environment works for the players. Not that they can, not that kids should go out and act foolish and be crying and throwing their helmets and all the stuff and all. No, I'm talking about enjoying the game, correcting bad behavior, all those things. But if the bad behavior is from the parents and the coaches, what are we doing?
What are we? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Right?
I've always been the guy. I had an athlete struggle mentally last year.
Mm-hmm.
This is a female athlete. She came to me wanting hitting lessons. I don't really know her really. I got lucky to have this athlete on my team. We were about to fold the team, but I had a couple kids come on that are super talented. She struggled with some mental makeup stuff. It took me 11 months. Our last month of our time together, holy smokes, did she just kill it, right? And the dad he says something to me, he's like, hey, man, everything that you've done for my daughter, thank you, da-da-da. And giving me all these props, I said, it's not me. I said, that's your athlete.
Yeah.
Your athlete is the one that bought into the process. I just tell a story. I put in a lot of time, and I put in a lot of effort, and I do appreciate the thank you. But you'll never, ever see me post something about how I did something for an athlete. I never got them recruited. They did that. Their skill set did that. Did I make a phone call? Sure, but it's not my job. I didn't close the deal.
Right.
They're not recruiting me. I'm not going there to play. I'm not the parent that they have to deal with. I just have to have a good relationship with a coach so they come back.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not going to send them a player I don't like. So I have some, but I don't want it about me. I want it about the young men and women that play in between the lines.
I think it's a great thought process, Mitch, and I think as a mentor, you're trying to help that individual in whatever you're working with them is to understand the process, understand how to get better, understand. Because if they don't do it, it doesn't matter what you say. Not a clue.
None.
So that's your goal. How can I connect with this person? How do I relate to them? And is it relatable enough to where they understand it and can then take the information and apply it and improve? This is where it all sits. And if we, as parents, coaches, understand these things, then I think it makes it a better situation for the athlete.
Yeah, and what's interesting, I didn't hear anything about sport in those last few comments that you just made, because it's much bigger than that. You have no idea the impact that you might have on somebody outside of sport.
Yep.
And when I really get excited about this is when I've been coaching for a long time. When I get invited to a wedding, or I get to see athletes having kids, and just giving me a hug to tell me thank you for being what? I was tough on these kids. I wanted them to be adults. I wanted them to be successful in life.
Yeah.
Because between the lines, it's very few get to play the next level. So you never know how you can impact somebody. And I've had people tell me that I've been their worst coach ever. 3 years later down the road, I get a random hug from somebody from behind me going, I love you, and all these. It's the neatest feeling in the world. And you have no idea how you impact somebody.
I ran into a gentleman a couple weeks ago, week and a half ago, and his son had played for me when I was coaching with Team Mizuno. And I was like, oh, hey, how you doing, man? Great to see you. We're talking. I was like, oh, my gosh. Hadn't seen him in years,
Right.
He says to me, he says, my son told me, he's told me on numerous, it was the funnest time he ever had playing baseball. He learned something. He's successful now. He's a general manager with one of the big car wash groups. He runs his own store, having success and whatnot. Good kid. And I saw him. He goes, we were texting back and forth a little bit. That to me was right there. You know, he enjoyed, he grew, he got better at something he did. That to me, and I just happened into him. Nobody, and this is exactly what he said to me. You know what? If that's the case and he had a good time and he grew and he's having success as an individual, his dad's helped him, all the people that are around him, I want people to have success in life. Whatever they do.
Did you guys win a lot that time frame?
Oh, we won some, lost some.
Well, the reason I asked that is because you still didn't say nothing about wins and losses.
It didn't matter. The kids, they grew. They had, okay.
You understand where I was going with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It had nothing to do. I want success in life. Well, you go back to this. The next year, I had a completely different 14U team. Okay, because that's where I was at. I took a bunch of kids that we were double A. We didn't mesh well at the beginning. We lost a lot. Woo, didn't we, Justin? I had good talent, had kids that really, but toward the end of the year, we got better. And I always put them up against competition. We played a lot of open tournaments at that time. It's been a few years. Mm-hmm. Playing good quality teams and whatnot. We were started to compete. We were starting to win some here and there. So we got into the USSSA World Series, AA, whatnot. That team went 6-0 and won the thing.
Oh, let's go.
Beat teams out of Texas, Oklahoma. I had one kid throw a no-hitter.
Was it Justin?
No, Justin was only 11. He wasn't playing for me. Sam Highfield was the kid's name. Threw a no-hitter. Boom, won the championship game. We run ruled the champion in the championship game. Team out of Michigan. Not one of those kids probably remember all the stuff moving up. They remember that moment, what they built to that success. They built to that success. And understanding a couple of those kids went on, played some Division I baseball. I remember saw kids from those teams. It was a lot of fun. We had a good time. And I hope they took that lesson of what it was to work hard, and we went and accomplished something
as a group. That's neat because that's the experience I had this year at Timberland. We started 3-8, finished 8-3.
Right.
And it's all about the kids buying into that process. And it was about learning. We had to unfortunately take our lumps because we were a heck of a much better team than what we were in the first 11 games, but we did not gel. If you're not going to put it together, and I just stuck to my guns and didn't try to change things up, and I was still kind of that coach that pushed you. And don't be afraid. If you're 12, 13, and you find that coach that pushes your kid a little bit, maybe you sit a little, don't be afraid of the end result because it's not about 12 and 13. It's about 15, 16. It's about 18, 19. You'll never know what you learn from a guy even sitting the bench because the game is in front of you.
Exactly. Always fun, man. We hope that you're enjoying these conversations. Again, folks, these are things that we've been discussing. It's a lot of our opinions and things that we've experienced. We hope it helps you think about your experience, your child, the club, whatever the case may be. We hope it's informative. Like or not like, please hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. If you like it, if you don't like it, hit the down button. Okay, fine. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you about what you think about our conversations. That's what this needs to be, open conversation. We hope you do. But please remember, hit that subscribe button, hit that dinger, because that's what we do around here. We hit dingers and doubles, right?
Doubles and dingers.
Doubles and dingers. My bad. Dingers. It's got to be doubles first, right? And then dingers come out.
Yeah.
No triples?
It depends who's... I'm not going to hit a triple. You might. He might. I'm not. I'll hit the ball off the wall and stand it first. I'm faster than that. I get thrown out at second.
Oh, man. But please hit that subscribe button, guys. Thanks for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes. And all you hitters, hit them where they ain't, which is meaning dingers and doubles. Doubles and dingers. I'll get it right here in a minute. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. We'll see you next time.